It's week 7. I love it. I'm so excited that I get to hang out with you. 12-week accountability group. And what do I love about this week? Well, I wrote some notes on what I love about this week. And what I love about this week is that this is when we get to see um, that you are either going to find your footing or you're going to find your obstacle. So one, that if, for those of you who have really focused on those daily tasks, you have to do the daily tasks. If you're not doing the daily tasks, you will start to flounder. So it's also, right, if you have avoided some stuff or whatever, you have to do the daily tasks. You have to do the daily tasks. And if you have done the daily tasks, week 7 is where it starts to get game on, because now we're starting to see some of the things that you have put in fruit. So in week 7, you're either going to find your footing and you're going to be like, yep, I can do this. I can do this, right? Some of those tasks, they should be like as much as it takes to brush your teeth, right? It's a brush your teeth fast thing. And it is, right? When you look at someone who's a failure or a success, it wasn't one thing that they did. It was 1,000 little things, right? I have a random thing about me, right? Random thing about making my. So I have a small tasks lists on my phone, and I have it listed in my notes section of small tasks add up. And so I started to just be curious, right? How many small tasks do I do really in a year? So I just started writing those things down, right? Reached out to 10 people on LinkedIn or whatever. And it's stunning that it really is thousands of little things that we do to make our life prosperous and successful. So it's keeping track of those and really saying, these are the areas I want to be prosperous and successful in, right? Because prosperity is the ability to magnify. So we want to be able to magnify. So when you are looking at this week, so you're either going to find your footing this week and you're going to go, yep, I can do that. I can call things out. I can manage overwhelm. I can work on one area more hard than the other areas. You're starting to get really understand the value of time blocking. But so you're going to find your footing or you're going to find your obstacle. And for many of you, you're going to have a failure response to that of like, yep, this is where it always goes bad. This is where it always goes bad. So for some of you, you're going to feel that as your failure valve. I just call it an obstacle. And obstacles are actually, I often want to kind of reframe them to say that an obstacle is actually a constraint. So, and when we look at obstacles as constraints, and there's a whole nother video on that, so I'm not going to talk a lot about it, but when you look at it as a constraint, something that you are managing, now you get to have it very differently. So many of you will come into week 7 feeling that if you've done all your stuff all this time, right, every week, you may come into overwhelm. And overwhelm, so out of all of the high-powered executives that I work with and all the executive teams, what do they all have in common? They all have overwhelm. And the place that I found from 24 years is that they don't know how to manage in their mind the spatial perception of all of those tasks into the spatial projection of the life that they think they are living in the time zone that's there. So you have to remember that these are obstacles that you're perceiving. The obstacle is actually that the amount of tasks you have don't match the perception of the time you have. And that right there is a powerful tool. So the way we deal with that is another piece of Michelin chefs, right? So what do you do when you have overachiever problems? Well, you look at overachievers, right? And you go, look, how do other highly amazing people get stuff done? Well, they start with background tasks. And that background task is to say, what can be running in the background so that I can move forward in the front ground? What is moving in the background that can still lead me to where I have to go so that I can move forward? And so a really easy one to understand and a background task for me is laundry, right? We had, oh man, I had laundry. We had a lot of people in our household. So we had a lot of laundry. And I swear to you, we had we had girls like, oh my gosh, they would change their clothes sometimes 3 times a day. And I'm like, what, who do you think that there's a laundry person here full time? No. But that was the first thing that we would do, right? Is let me get these background tasks done. And the background tasks for those of you who feel like overwhelmed by stuff, those background tasks are make sure your desks are clean, make sure the sink is cleaned out, make sure the trash is out, make sure the laundry's running at all times, right? So these types of things give the illusion that there's space. And there's a reason that I tell people, please clean off your desk. Please clean your workspace up. Uh, just put it into a little pattern. Find the pattern that's right for you, and it should be like a place setting, right? You're going to sit down to work. It's not all the work that's left over. No one wants to come to a buffet after everyone's been eating on it. That's gross. You want to sit down at a restaurant to a beautiful place setting just for you. And that is the gift you give yourself when you clean off your desk. So, if it's just this hullabaloo of everything that you've been eating on all week, gross. You want to just pull it back and give yourself this nice little place setting that you can sit down and go, oh, here's my lemon water. Let me check my email, right? It's just fancy and nice and thoughtful. So tasks are going to be the big deal this week. So the way that you can use some of your 3-hour block is that I would look at it and go, all right, what are the 10-minute tasks that I know are attached to my goals? So if you have a health task, a 10-minute task can be stretching. If you have a health goal, it might be a 10-minute meditation. If you have a health goal, it might be just running in place or whatever that is. You can walk around the block in 10 minutes. So think about those tasks and really focus them in 10 and then 20 and then 30-minute tasks. Those are the ones that actually are the magic. Small tasks done consistently over time and small tasks that lead to a greater outcome. That's the secret. That's the secret that everybody's been wanting, which is how do you keep doing the small tasks that lead to the big things? And so that is really where you start to go, let me outsmart this, right? Because any constraint is a tool. So if I never have more than 10 or 20 or 30 minutes in a day that is unscheduled, then okay, great. Let me go to my list. And I tell you, I use my list. I use my list all the time. Sometimes I'll go back to lists that I've written before to go, well, what did I do then that worked better than what I do now? Or like when I have an assistant and when I don't. So sometimes I don't have an assistant because I'm in between assistants and then I have to do my own work again, and that's horrible. But how do I manage those tasks? So looking at those pieces. Background tasks, I'm really going to encourage you to figure out what someone else can do for you. And sometimes that's really simple. So we just figure out the background tasks that people are better at. So it takes me 20 minutes to remake the bed. It takes my husband 4. So we switch tasks. But for my husband to manage the yard work outside would take him never. So if I want a garden to be in this house, I would have to do that. And it takes me 1 hour every day to manage our yard. And that's something else that I can always invite someone else to help us with. So when you're looking at your tasks, start to time them and start to time them. And if you are co-creating a life with someone else, decide who does the task better. My husband can do a lot of things better than me because he has these long arms, right? So, cleaning out the gutters, not a good task for me. Not a good task for anyone, but it is who can do that task more efficiently, more safely, right? Whatever. So when you're thinking about your tasks and the things that you are doing as goals, many of you are doing goals that are, oh, and there is our timer. That's the benefit of this timer. It doesn't make any noise while it ticks, but you can hear that. You can hear that. So you and I have been together for a few minutes now. But find out who can do the goal, who can do the tasks that are the best. And if you're doing co-creating, if you're doing this co-creation where you're building a life with someone else and they're also doing the 12-week a year, find the task that they can do. And the other thing that was very interesting is that if you can understand how to measure your time and what it really takes, you'll find that most people actually eat in under 15 minutes. That when they sit down to a meal, they actually eat very quickly. That everybody has this idea that dinner is an hour and a half. Well, dinner's only an hour and a half if you actually have to make it and you have to wash up from it. But if it is something that's faster or easier, you can just sit down and enjoy a wonderful meal and talk to somebody in 30 minutes. So readjust how you're willing to think about time to your benefit. So being able to talk to somebody about their life sometimes is actually a lot faster than you think. So this week, time, background tasks, understanding the spatial conversation, right, of what does my mind think all of those tasks look like and how long do they take, and what is the perception of time that I think I have in my real life, that those two things will not match. So we start to help them match by going, what are the background tasks that I can push back here and have working? So now this spatial idea is less. So you kind of can take off a lot of times 30% of the things that my mind thinks are too big to fit into my time. Focusing in on those 10-minute tasks. I threw away my 5-minute tasks a long time ago because they don't really work for me. I'm a lot slower at things than I give myself credit for, which means that I'm very optimistic about how much I can get done. Because when you're a mover and a shaker, boy, can you get things done. We are overly optimistic on our time. So I have to just slow it down. So this idea of a 5-minute task, I threw it away. You can still live with that. I can't. Then finding your footing or finding your obstacle. Having a constraint is actually very helpful when it's identified. So we can work on that. There's a whole other video on that. And I will link that video to this. So learning all of those things. I think that week 7 it's really where we start to see emotion, where you can see yourself hitting a goal. Really, it's in week 9 that we see people really go, oh my gosh, we've been together for this long. But week 7, it starts to kind of dawn on you. We're over half. I'm over halfway done with accountability group. And 1, you'll know if you want more. But this is where if the things are working, they'll start to pile up. And this is where you have the option to have some overwhelm. If you're feeling overwhelmed, super normal, super normal, super normal. And if you haven't gotten your traction yet, it's coming. So focus, 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 focus. And thank you so much for saying nice things to other people in class, for wishing them well, for giving advice, for even thinking about your classmates out of class time. I mean, it's lovely. It's lovely to see your face. It's lovely to be in class with you, and it's lovely to celebrate with you. So, very excited about that. So thank you so much. I will see you in week 8, and there's more stuff coming. Bye.